to be the deciders match, right? Because I think everybody was looking for Reina to win this group, and Nice was a clear underdog. So I think a lot of us expected to see this one more time, and perhaps the players did too. So maybe they saved something special for us. In the top right side, we look at the main base of the Korean Zerg player. Just had an easy 2-0. Can he continue that momentum? It is DongRaeGu.
God, I love that royalty-free butt rock. In the bottom left here for the Africa Freaks, same team as DRG. It is Stats. Well, that's my favorite one yet. That's almost Soundgarden-y. I'm saying Soundgarden like you know what that is, and I just realized I'm talking to you, Rotterdam. So I'll just put that in my back pocket. Is a 90s grunge band, put it that way. All right, there you go.
Yeah, you lost me a long time ago, mate.
Yeah. Well, this actually, it's our last series of the day, but I feel like this one has potential to be really lengthy as well, just because of how these players have been playing so far in ZVP, not just against each other. Stats really likes that defensive play, reactive play into that late game, and then DRG's just like, yeah, I'll meet you there, mate. See you with 3-3 in the middle of the map. No rush 30.
You know, it's really funny because for the longest time, people have been like, they should redesign Protoss, like gateway units just not good and Warp Gate is gimmicky. And Stats is like, you know what? They should redesign Protoss. What if I just don't make any units? 50 army supply, I leave 2 High Templars per base behind and maybe the random Immortal here and there. And then I just spend all my money on cannons and batteries. And it's like, well, I mean, it feels like it takes a while to win your ladder games like that. But hey, if it gets the job done, it gets the job done, right?
Look, all these normie Protosses out there using their mineral banks to spam zealots and shift-click them into mineral lines when it should have been cannons all along. Learned it here at DreamHack Masters season finals.
Have you guys ever seen zealots kill roaches? No, but cannons and batteries sure do.
Hell yeah. And they don't discriminate either, those cannons. Send in mutas, they're dead. Is a zealot going to kill a mutas? Absolutely not.
All right, Stats is going to make another Stargate. That is 7 PVZs in a row that Stats likes to open up with the Stargate. I mean, I'm a man who lost my Stargates as well, but I do like a little bit of variation. Every now and then open up with the Twilight. And once in a blue moon, go Twilight Robo. It really does seem that Stats just feels like, no, this is the way that I play this matchup at this point. This is where I feel comfortable. And even if it's not perhaps the most exciting or most surprising thing, even for your opponents, if this is what he's best with, I can't really blame him.
Variety is the spice of life, but Stats likes his PVZ unseasoned. Sends the Adept Shade into the main base here. Just making he's just keeping the Zerg honest, making sure that there's not too many Lings or catching too many units there. Oh, Phoenix first. Oh my god.
He's doing that for me. And that's
he knows you're watching. He sees you in that lobby.
That's surprising though, right? Like, why are we opening up with a Phoenix? Is it just going to be single Phoenix into a big gateway attack, or are we going to get some old school Phoenix lifting the Queens and then the Oracles will deal a bunch of damage? Who knows? That is a really quick Twilight as a follow-up though, so I do have the feeling that Stats is going to spice it up and it's going to be a lot more aggressive. I think we're feeling Resonating Glaives here, Maynard.
I was about to say exactly that. Like, I have seen a couple Stargate openers that look like a regular Stargate opener, and then you just end up having a different version of the Adept printer that doesn't involve the Prism, but you still just send a ton of Resonating Glaive Adepts across the map. So we have to keep an eye on the gateway count here.
Yep, and obviously if you can force out a whole bunch of Spore Crawlers, because you open up Phoenix and followed up with the Oracle as well, Spore Crawlers are not going to be very useful against Adepts. I had a little bit of a lag spike, but it seems to be okay. I mean, this glaive attack is actually going to hit real quick as well, despite the fact that Stats did open up with Resonant Glaives. Are you noticing those spikes as well?
No spikes for me. Sorry you're having them, it sucks.
No, that's okay. I'm more worried about the players, right? I don't want
the players are fine, and more importantly, I'm fine.
All right, then that's all that matters. I mean, Korea is a long ways off from the Netherlands, so there's a reason why I don't ladder on this server.
Yeah, it's not the best. I get like 150 to Korea, which is playable, but it's not super comfortable. But yeah, we do have the Roach Warren going down here for DRG. He's seeing a lack of third base. He's seeing Adepts in tandem here, and getting a little bit concerned about those units getting across the map. So I think it's a good call for DRG.
He's making a lot of drones, though. I almost feel like this is truly where he needs to stop. Because these adapts, they could just be your regular safety adapts, right? Like, they're not shooting orange yet because Resident Glaives is not done. But if I'm DongRaeGu and I scout this, I'm not necessarily immediately worried that this is going to be Resident Glaives. But we know it is, and perhaps he does as well because he stops at 54, which is a lot for a regular adapt attack. But obviously, because it was Stargate into adapts with Glaives, maybe 54 is okay. That's a lot of units being produced by DongRaeGu right now.
Yeah, when all these units are out, they will be able to fight back these adepts easily, but it's, you know, it's an adept. It could shade away from the roaches. It could find an angle where the units aren't. So let's see what stats get done here. Looks like a couple queens getting quite low as the shade goes towards the natural. Looks like he might get 2 queens on the way through. Oh, he gets 2 queens and he shades into the natural where there's just lings. Roaches aren't here just yet.
I almost feel like sticking around would have been pretty good as well, or maybe leave 2 adapts. So he's got more adapts shedding into the third base as well. Oh my goodness. It seems like DongRaeGu was a little bit too greedy in the end. Did not have enough units out, and he is starting to take serious amounts of damage here.
It's like Stats wants to go to bed, man. It's 3 a.m. He wants to throw out the Twilight Council builds. The hiding extra gateways, delaying the third, and just going all aggression. And that is a lot of damage. 13 drones go down. And DRG does have a lot of units, but it's like not a super convincing, like all-in amount of units. So he has to drone.
Yep, he does have to drone. There is one very low HP adept remaining that doesn't get one more drone adept kill. Or, I mean, it was proper damage, but on the other hand, this was a lot of adepts as well, right? As the observer is showing us, that was 15 adepts, Maynard. 2 queens and 13 drones and 44 zerglings. I'd say the attack was a success, absolutely, but I don't think it's game-ending damage. I do believe DongRaeGu still has what it takes to stay in this game, especially if you can get a little victory on the other side of the map. Maybe find a couple of these sentries while they are exposed.
Yeah, the roaches are on the right side of the main base here, which the Oracle's keeping tags on. The Ling's not finding an angle at the third either, so I kind of really like Stats' position here. He's going into double Robo Immortal production, +1 as well on that Forge, and obviously the Twilight's been done for a while, so this is a very comfortable spot, I feel, when you know what your Zerg opponent's largely got to deal with you. Ooh, I like Tunneling Claws from DRG. This could throw a spanner into the works.
Yeah, this is the first time we see that, and I kind of like it as well. I wonder if this was the plan all along, or if this is something that DongRaeGu is doing because he's like, it took so much damage. It took a long time for me to really economically recover. If I'm playing a super standard normal game, I don't know if I can really survive, so why not do something a little bit crazy? But you already mentioned it's double Robo, though, and if you have double Robo, you shouldn't be short of Observers in general, and definitely shouldn't be short on Immortals either, so I don't know if it's going to work, but I do like the idea.
DRG is getting his bar upgrades and heading towards having a little bit more of a technical roach army than you would normally see. Stats is gearing up to have a big spike in power, though, with all his gateways finishing up. +1 about to finish up. Prism about to hit the field. He's got quite a few Immortals for this phase of the game as well. 3 with 4 sentries.
Roaches on Burrow on top of the army would be pretty sick, though.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, that's the cool thing about Burrow, right? Is you can, with Tunneling Claws, you get under the sentries and force fields don't matter as much.
Yep, and roaches in general are not good against Immortals because Immortals have way more range and obviously deal a ridiculous amount of damage against roaches, but it's mostly the range. Like, roaches can't really get on top of them. If you can really swarm it, and here we go. I mean, there is an observer on the right side, actually on the left side right now of the Immortals. This is going to get really cool. Stats move this observer out of position. These roaches are going to find their way into the main base, into the natural. Maynard, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, DRG's going to find some damage here for sure. The question is how much. Ravager's coming through on the third base. That's going to get held. But here comes the Burrow in the natural and the main.
Yeah, that's going to deal a lot of damage. For a split second, I thought that Oracle was going to fall against Karasaba, and I feel like that would have been awesome. This one cannon is buying a lot of time, at least in the main bases. The fight is, I want to say, still looking all right, but where are the storms, Maynard? I haven't seen a single storm yet.
There we go.
What are the queens doing here? Hello?
They went for a walk. I guess just grabbed everything. Not meant to come across with an F2, but they were there after all, and they just kind of died for free. Now, DRG did do a lot of damage to Stats. Stats has lost a lot of workers, but I feel like his army is still, like, it's powerful here. 11 more Ravagers coming in. Oh, man, this is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one for Stats to hold.
Especially, yes, there is a lot of Storm available, but there are so many corrosive balls available. One Immortal very exposed. The Storms initially are pretty good, but I think corrosive ball can maybe zone that army out, and maybe that can open up the door for DongRaeGu to go into the natural. I want to point out, by the way, that the Twilight Council is still unpowered, so Charge has not restarted yet. Those gateways have been unpowered all this time. This is going to be so difficult for Stats.
Oh, and he's depowered the robotic facilities as well. Without these Immortals, it seems like Stats doesn't have the firepower to actually beat this anymore. He's only got a couple Immortals left there on the natural, down here, running up the ramp, but just kind of willy-nilly. Like, there's one more Immortal in the main base. I think that DRG has found the big critical blow here in this game. It's going to put Stats on the back foot. Too far to recover.
Oh, look at that. The Immortals going in the main base, which means all the High Templars in between the bases are super exposed, and the Storm does kind of buy some time, but this is just a couple of High Templars all by themselves. DongRaeGu looks at it, and he feels like he can capitalize on it. I gotta say, they're staying alive longer than I expected. Land good Storms. A lot of these Ravages are so low on HP, but there are still so many Zerg units screaming into the natural off Stats.
Yeah, I mean, DRG's ball of units here at the front is looking bruised, and it looks like a hole, but there's a lot more from DRG coming in from the middle of the map. Some healthier Roaches. Stats is 4 Immortals here with +2 attack are actually trading quite nicely against these Roaches. I mean, he is still alive, but definitely took a ton of damage there, with DRG certainly being ahead.
Yeah, he's back to 3 bases. Obviously lost some of his static defenses as well. But, hey, I gotta say, with a Wire Prism, 5 Immortals, 6 Immortals now against pure Roaches, I've seen crazier things, Maynard, even though there's no Storm available anymore. Well, actually, no, there's still a couple of High Templars on the top. I actually think Stats is still in this game, even if he's down 60 army supply.
Yeah, I've seen him come back from, you know, I've seen him hold this kind of discrepancy before, like being this far down, but just having the units to try and hold on here. I would really love it if he had a Prism to juggle these things around as well, but he's had a depowered robo facility for quite a while. I feel like a Prism can make like 20-30 army supply difference if you can juggle his Immortals around with shield batteries.
Yep, the Phoenix goes down to corrosive balls, so that's going to make it a bit harder. We do have one Prism, and that's in the main base, but good job there by DongRaeGu, leaving a couple of Roaches behind, and the Prism actually takes quite a bit of damage. But DongRaeGu has to know as well that the longer this goes on, the worse it gets, so he's going to try to find an opening here. One Immortal is very exposed, but it doesn't fall.
7 Immortals, Roddy, with Storm and Archon support. Even though Stats' army is small, the power of it, like, it just trades so well against what DRG's made here. A very supply and efficient army.
Yep. Crossbow is annoying, gets a kill on a couple of these cannons. Gateway gets picked off as well. That's a juicy Storm in the middle of the Roaches and Ravages. I gotta say, it's absolutely awesome that Stats is just hanging in there the way he does. But he needs to protect his army. He can't get over-eager, but it almost feels like he's debating DongRaeGu into the idea that, like, hey, you should go for it. And then he lands the big Storms, and then he wants to let those Immortals shine.
DRG is bleeding out supply here, losing quite a bit of on his side of the map, but remaking. Trying to squeeze out a couple of drone series. He is losing some to these Zealots, but not too many. This Prism just being a thorn in the side of DRG. Once again, would love a Prism over here with this army defensively. Storm goes down in that army and zones DRG back, who's continuing to kind of contain Stats in a way.
No, but Stats is going to try to go up to 4 bases again. I got to say, the creep is awesome. One Immortal is still not falling. Oh my goodness, all these Roaches and Ravages are so beat up. The High Templar is going to morph into Archons. Stats is going to try to surround this army, but Maynard, he is finally losing a couple of very key units here. The Archons are falling, the Immortals are falling, the Storms are massive, but I mean, I don't think Stats can attack right now after losing that many key units.
Well, he's going to try. He's got a lot of Immortals still. Like, he lost a couple, sure. He's still making 2 at once now that the Robos are back. He's got 7 Immortals with 9 about to pop out. Lurkers are on the way for DRG, but he doesn't have those Hive upgrades on them just yet. If Stats can get these Lurkers before they have those tier 3 upgrades, he's got a lot of Immortals, and that definitely kills Lurkers fast.
Yeah, well, he gets 1 Lurker before the party started. The second Lurker goes down. 4 Lurkers already going down. Oh my goodness. If Stats wins this game...
He just his own Archons.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that sucks for these Immortals, man. Are they truly immortal is the question that we're going to answer here today as the Lings and Roaches come in from DRG. Oh, the Hydras are such a problem for him. He doesn't have Storms anymore. I started to believe.
Yep, the Hydras are a much bigger problem than the Lurkers ever were, because there were so many Immortals, but Immortals don't deal that well with Hydras, especially not if there are Zerglings in the front. Here are all the High Templars, but they are a little bit late to the party. If only those High Templars were there to protect all the other Immortals. These Storms are good as well. A few Zealots show up out of nowhere to potentially save the day, but there are no barriers left on these Immortals, and I feel like they are sitting ducks.
Yeah, this will finally be the nail in the coffin for Stats for game one. DRG, he found Stats harder to dispatch than we initially assumed there. We thought Stats was dead a few minutes ago, but you know, eventually that was the case. But DRG, man, like he's got that killer instinct. He definitely was starting to get me worried. I thought he was warming up that throwing arm, but luckily managed to close it out and take that first game win.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, especially like I mentioned the Twilight Council being unpowered, so charge basically took minutes longer than it was supposed to take, and 2 gateways, but the robos were unpowered as well, like you mentioned, and that's obviously an even bigger deal because that meant that high immortal count we saw later, that could have actually came into play much earlier, and then maybe it would have been easier for Stats to survive. I gotta say though, Stats did a phenomenal job for the longest time, getting so much value out of all the units he had, which honestly weren't that many. And I love how every single time I thought his High Templars are just sitting there, they're going to die, they kind of run towards static defenses. The Roaches and Ravages follow, so they clump up. Then he lands 2 Key Storms and he morphs them into Archons as well, and they survive. I'm like, what? Like, is he ever going to lose some units? And eventually he did, but in a way you can almost even say that maybe that's a throw almost in the end by Stats, because if those High Templars with all those storms, if they are there when he's like fighting with those 7 immortals, well then the Hydras suddenly are not that much of a problem anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. So it's just interesting how that game one went. A lot of it didn't happen expectantly towards the end there, especially. We're going into Golden Wall, which is also a really hard map to kind of predict what's going to happen. And DRG 12 pulled the last Protoss he played on this map, which was literally an hour and a bit ago. So let's see how this goes. I'd like to see what the plan is specifically from Stats. I mean, no, this is a Stargate map. If you're ever going to Stargate map, this is definitely one of them. But does he have something a little bit more sinister? I certainly hope so, as he is on 1 life remaining here, loading into Golden Wall.
Well, he did spice it up, right, with the Phoenix opening, then going into the Resonating Glaives as well, finding a whole bunch of damage, but he wasn't ready for the good old Roach attack. In the bottom right side, the Shield of Ire is on the ropes. He needs to win the next 2 games to make it into the playoffs of the DreamHack SC2 Masters Fall Season Championships. Our Korean Protoss, it is Stats.
The tournament really rolls off the tongue on the far left here on match point. 1 map away from moving out with Reyna. It is a Freak of Freaks DRG. And guys, yeah, thanks for tuning in and watching the Esl Pro Tour DreamHack Masters Fall Season Finals Group B Deciders match.
Yeah, I was about to say, brought to you by the DreamHack Energy or DreamHack Monster Energy Studios,
yeah, Monster Energy Studios,
in cooperation with the Electronic Sports League 2020.
Buy the products, support StarCraft 2 esports. There you go.
And then we just do that 17 times a day and we'll fill a broadcast, man.
That's right. I mean, that's we can do the math. I mean, that took us, what, 30 seconds?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah. A couple dozen times and we're good. So, yeah, Golden Wall is a nice big map here. I feel like it's one of those maps that really becomes a Zerg map a little bit later. When the creep starts to get out there, you have so much like open surface area for engagements and that sort of thing. But you know, it's got the weird factor, right? Like the back side of the map, or the bottom side of the map, whatever you want to call it, behind the minerals, the gold base. You know, the lots of interesting factors in Golden Wall. But also the interesting factors are a lot of the reason why this map is vetoed to oblivion in the tournaments. Because they just want to play a more quote-unquote normal game.
Yeah, I was giggling a bit because of our, shenanigans about the intros, and I do believe that DongRaeGu once again took a slightly quicker guess than I'm used to, but then he doesn't fully saturate it, so it really doesn't mean that much. I wonder if Stats went for the scout because he really wants the hedge block, or if he's like, he did 12 pull, nice on this map, but I really did not expect DongRaeGu to ever 12 pull Stats here, because if Stats does scout, I expect Stats' defense to be excellent, and then I don't think you lose the game as a Zerg player, but you're definitely behind.
And then Stargate is going down as Stats with the surprise of absolutely no one. One of the better maps for it.
Yeah, it would have been something.
8 and 8.
If he suddenly opens up with a robo here, we're like, what? After 8 games?
So Parting doing some wild stuff in GSL today. No spoilers, just saying that Parting got crazy, which I don't think is a spoiler to say.
No. That's actually an anti-spoiler. They were hoping he'd be normal.
Like, no, Maynard, I wanted him to play normal. You ruined everything for me. I'm not even going to watch the VOD anymore.
It was a good day of GSL, right?
It was cool, yeah.
Yep.
Some cool games.
One in particular on Death Aura that I thought was awesome, but we won't spoil it.
Yeah, no spoilering this.
It's quite a... I want to say quite a few Zerglings running to the other side of the map, but it's just 8 for now. I think these Zerglings is going to try to be annoying. And also in case Stats gets a little too carried away and sends a probe out by itself. Or maybe if the Adept shade away, the 8 Zerglings could run into the natural main, but I don't really expect any of this to happen. This is obviously a big game, Maynard. The winner will move on into the playoffs. The loser is eliminated. Well, in one of the losers, he's got one more life. But second Stargate, oh my goodness, I love it.
Yeah, all right. So we're going to probably see a lot of Phoenixes here from Stats. It's kind of what I'm assuming here. It would be interesting to see him just go into like double Void Ray production, but I'm feeling Phoenixes.
Or Mass Oracle.
Hey.
It is going to be Phoenixes. I do kind of like it as well, the way that Stats is building up his strategies, right? Because in the first game, he's like, hey, I'm going to open up a Phoenix into an Oracle, into a lot of Adepts. And now it's a Phoenix into an Oracle, into way more Phoenix. Like, that's honestly a very cool way to do things.
Yeah, and this is something that DRG is not likely to expect here. Obviously, he knows this one Stargate is out as Phoenix and Oracle rolls on in and gets 3 drones, lifts up the Queen. Oh, Oracle's so low! Escapes at least.
I don't know if you really want to take that much damage on your air units just to kill 3 drones. During all of this, that's it, might out his back door, so he's going up to 3 bases. DongRaeGu has to be aware of this at this point because he does still have Zerglings at the bottom of the natural ramp of Stats, and since Stats is still on 2 bases, I mean, 5 minutes into the game, that has to be a little too good to be true.
Yeah. The Phoenix is coming through here, making sure that the Zerg is actually still on the top side of the map. So the bottom side is going to be all Stats for now. I do say for now. Things can change pretty quickly. Bling sees the middle of the map here, catches probably the edge of that Oracle there. And DRG is just heading to a pretty normal follow-up for Zerg at this point. Roach Warren going down to respect the fact that there could be a ground army coming up here. +1 range coming out, but he is getting a lot more drones because he knows it's Stargate, so he's not like cutting drones super early.
You know, if DongRaeGu starts off losing a queen here, I actually feel this becomes very problematic because he doesn't have that many queens. He only has 5, so imagine if you lose one of them by themselves. Now, in range of a Spore Crawler, I don't think that's going to happen, but if one of those queens would have been lifted way outside of range of the Spore, I really think that could have been problematic. At this point, it's not that bad. DongRaeGu is at 62 drones. He's going to fire up 7, 8 more, drop the Hydra then as well, and go up to 4 bases during all of this. I gotta say, I think if I'm in Stats' position, I'm looking for a little more than I got so far.
Yeah, and the hand's been shown as well. So DRG is going to be going into Hydralisks, which obviously can lend itself into Lurkers a little bit later. Groove Spine's first upgrade here for the Hydras is always the case. 9 times out of 10 at least.
Yeah, there's not really a Hydra timing. I mean, in the old days when the maps were a bit smaller, there was a lot of Hydra Ling, right? Where they did go speed over range. But
yeah, maybe like Cyber Forest or something like that. Like those old shorter.
Even longer, and I'm thinking like Blackpink. But back then, I think that Hydras were cheaper as well, and they built quicker or something. There was a reason why the Hydra Ling attack was really powerful.
Indeed, yeah. So 8 drones is quite good. These Phoenixes do find a good cluster of drones there. That's finally what Stats wanted there. Yeah, he's kind of stuck a little bit. Oh, 2 queens on their own. He feels like he's got this.
No, he gets the first one. Saves his Phoenix as well. You're spot on, Maynard. All of this is indeed really good. Infestation Pit goes down for DongRaeGu. I kind of wonder where this goes into. I feel that DongRaeGu may have been reading this like, oh, this got to be carriers, right? But it's actually Phoenix into a ground army.
DongRaeGu is heading towards what seems to be Hive here. Infestation Pit going down. The Infestation Pit with, attack upgrades, ranged attack upgrades used to always mean Hell Muffins, but the Swarm Host has been put aside for that Tier 3 Lurk attack, especially for the Korean Zergs. There's a couple of Europeans ones as well. Rainer is also a big fan of the Lurker.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the other guys do it too. Lambo, for instance, been running around with Lurkers quite a bit. Saro as well. That's funny. That's great skin on the Infestation Pit. I didn't know there was a robot head on top.
Does it have a head?
Yeah, apparently it does. That's news to me as well, mate.
Yeah. I guess I have all the skins unlocked. Like I've done the war chest, obviously, but like I don't I haven't played Zerg with these skins, so I don't think I've paid attention to the Infestation Pit skin.
I kind of miss the, you know, when they had the metallic units, and they always like... I love the sound when the metallic hydras and roaches fell apart. I thought it was very satisfying.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Do they not have the same death sound for the cybernetic ones?
I have no idea, but I have the feeling... No, I think it sounds very different. Because I haven't heard that sound in a long time, but I remember always my carriers destroying a whole bunch of hydras, and I was like, oh, that is such a satisfying sound.
Speaking of carriers, Roddy, we see the cannons go down. We see the fleet bacon sizzling in the pan. I shouldn't have said that. I'm so hungry. Oh, Hydra's trying to catch those Phoenixes from being, from escaping here for stats. He's already used recall, so they're kind of stuck there for a bit.
Yeah, but on the other end, maybe Stats is okay with that, right? Because he's spending so much resources on buildings right now. So he's like, you know what? If you want to keep your Hydras on your side of the map, guarding Phoenixes that are not that important for me right now, I'm okay with it. So I can start getting my first carriers out, and I can go up to 4 bases. DongRaeGu has an insane drone count, by the way, as the Oracle does get picked off in the center. 92, I think that's a really good number.
And as the Hydras move out to grab that Oracle, leaves an opening for these Phoenixes to get a bunch of drones. Half a dozen going down there at that base. Loses a Phoenix, but 6 drones going down. Not bad. But DRG, it feels like he basically just like put a drop in the ocean here. So he's still got 87 drones, even when all his drones died.
We already mined. I'm surprised that DongRaeGu did not mine out his own backdoor yet. What do you
He's
make
almost got it.
No, he's mining out the
middle.
center, but that's weird because that's so dangerous. Imagine if you go through it and a sentry shows up and drops a force field there. Like, he should really start mining out his own backdoor, in my opinion. Of course, that's dangerous against Zealot run by Story Mania, but yeah, maybe he's not doing it because he's afraid that Stats is going to run Zealots into his main all the time, but how is he going to get his entire army through this, you know, the center then? I guess he's going to mine out the entire center. Okay.
He is getting to that good army, or great army even, of the Carrier and High Templar combination. It really has great synergy there, but of course, the Lurker is on the way here for DRG. Hive's been done for a bit, so he's getting his +3. He's got his second Lurker upgrade on the way, the Burrow Speed upgrade, and he is also, no doubt, shortly going to be heading towards Vipers, which is, you know, it's when it comes down to, like, both players have the tools to win, but how does the execution go, and who does it better?
Phoenixes will fly over a couple of the Hydras, and we'll see one Lurker. Doesn't see the rest of it. 2 Phoenixes go down. The 3rd one falls as well. I mean, if all these Lurkers run up the ramp, it's pretty intimidating. But then I also see 5 cannons and 3 batteries, and I'm like, maybe you don't want to run your Lurkers there.
Maybe not. We do have the Zerg positioning themselves out the front of the natural there. There's a lot of Zerg units out there at the front of that natural. Looks like DRG wants to make something happen. As Stats basically is chilling back here. His only presence on the map is these Phoenixes, which aren't too convincing anymore. Here comes his natural.
He's actually going to go for it. I would like to see battery overcharge being used here as well. That's going to help quite a bit keeping these cannons alive. I think getting the Cybercore is a great pick-off with carriers on the way. Cybercore takes a lot of damage. Cybercore will fall. That's a good one for DongRaeGu.
It certainly is. Now, if Stats gets an efficient cleanup here, though, it could actually be better for him as the dust settles. Lots of hurt Hydras. They go down. A lot of Lurkers go down as well as the Observer shows up. Oh, I like this from DRG showing up over here on the south side of the map as he's mined out the middle. He finds a bunch of probes, and while, you know, Stats is nailing on his hatchery in the top left, he hasn't killed too many drones.
Yeah, these Hydras managed to get 14 probe kills. That's really good. But Zealots are able to get a couple of drones on the top side of the map and even get the hatchery as well. So I'd say that wasn't too bad for Stats. Obviously, losing the probe sucks a little bit. But I think losing the Cybercore, I know that I'm obsessed with Cybercore and air upgrades, guys. But like right now, DongRaeGu is maxed out. So if they fight again, he's actually going to fight just +1 carriers. And then all of a sudden, I feel like this game relies a lot more on Storm than it does on carriers for Stats.
Well, Mothership is out. I'm sure she'll make a difference here. Well, I mean, in all seriousness, it does have utility, but there are still a lot of Hydras out for DRG. There's 39 Hydras, Roddy, with +3 attack. Wow. Those are some high DPS units right there, and that's a lot of it.
Yep, Lurker's running forward, pushing the High Templars away as well, but we do still have a couple of Storms. And obviously, these units are very clumped up. Can we get the Storms that Stats is looking for with his tournament live on the line? They're pretty good, but a lot of Hydras are left on the left side, Maynard.
Yeah, are indeed. He gets rid of one of the Overseers, but one still remains, so he's able to still fight back these Interceptors, and that's the big deal there for DRG. Big Storm and the Hydras there on the ramp here. Stats just trying to hold on, but he's on a grand total of what seems to be 5 Interceptors. Still holding that line, though, is Stats. Just clinging on to dear life, and he is starting to take a supply lead in Army.
Yep, this is actually where indeed the mothership is pretty useful. I mean, I know you said it and we were memeing a bit about it, but you know, if DongRaeGu would be able to properly size up that army and they would actually just stand there fight, it's like, wait a minute, there are 6 interceptors above my Hydras. Like, that looks like a powerful army, but it actually wasn't. But with the mothership there, it's so tanky. The Hydra count wasn't that overwhelming anymore after the storms. It definitely was pretty useful. Carriers are trying to get their interceptors back up. Currently, we've got, well, 48 interceptors, so that's a decent amount, but that's still 25 Hydras on the side of DongRaeGu.
Yeah, still, it seems like DRG really has the ability to just erase all interceptors quite fast here. And I do like that he's got that double spire, and I like that he's respecting the fact that he may not just be able to win it with the Lurker and the Hydra. He's going to eventually get up Corruptors. Not seeing Vipers yet from BRG either. They would be really useful here to get rid of the mothership, and as well as carriers. Even just like using energy to get 1 or 2 carries is fantastic. Not like there's a giant bank for both players at the moment.
Yeah, vision is very important, so Stats losing those observers is really painful as he's trying to keep track of the army movement of DongRaeGu. Lurker's running forward again, but I love the early storm, just kind of keeping his army at bay. 1 High Templar did go down, but the initial storms were excellent.
And Stats actually deflects DRG's dive into the natural again with these Lurkers. The spread of creep is getting pretty nuts out there on that side of the map, and Stats is still trying to expand on the bottom side, and he kind of has to. Like, he doesn't really have a choice. Spore Crawler's going on in. The Hydra is starting to cut into those interceptors, but the Time Warp actually is going to be useful here to slow the DPS of the Hydras that are inside the bubble.
Yeah, well, they're having some issues running away indeed. The intercept count still looking pretty decent. The Hydra number is dwindling. And DongRaeGu is actually going to be forced to retreat for a bit. He's going to run back to a couple of additional Spore Crawlers. More drones showing up to make more Spore Crawlers on this side of the map. I know we've got Vipers on the way as well. And these carriers are putting in some good work right now, Maynard.
They are indeed. Like, a lot of interceptors are dying, but there's still enough left over to continue to pick off Hydras. And you're going to trade minerals here for minerals and gas. The Spore Crawler is firing back here. Of course, they are assisting, but the mothership continuing to be alive, continuing to cloak her babies. The High Templar have arrived now, and if he can get rid of these 3 spores, I think he can actually continue to press this issue.
Yeah, its sub count is running a little bit low, and that mothership took a lot of damage, so I don't really hate Stats taking a little moment. He's still maxed out, and I honestly feel that DongRaeGu may have made a tiny mistake when, after those first big fights, he made 12 more Lurkers, and those Lurkers really haven't been able to get much done yet. And I think he's starting to be aware of that. He's like, well, if you've got pure carriers and they're in the center, maybe these Lurkers can find a purpose here. A lot of cannons, a lot of batteries, but this is a few too many Hydras. High Templars on the left side as well have to be very careful because Lurkers are zoning them away. This is actually a great move by DongRaeGu, right? Finally finding that economic damage he's been looking for.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to break the natural. He found a different angle, and it seemed to have just run through Stats into an undefended Nexus where there's some High Templar, but they're going to go up a ramp to defend against the Zerg army. And even then, that Nexus isn't safe as DRG turns his attention to the 6 o'clock Nexus and is starting to work on that one, and that's going to go down for sure. But Stats on the other side of the map is not leaving him unchallenged. He's doing a lot of damage to the Zerg as well.
Yep, I mean, Stats is just like, you know what, you can kill my Nexi. I don't really give a damn anymore. I'm just going to kill all of your bases. Zealots are destroying a couple of bases on the top left side. He's actually running all of his Zealots into Spines on the top left now. Maybe the Spines can keep that base safe. DongRaeGu makes 15 more Hydras. That's going to bring him up to 45 Hydras.
He just killed the Hydra Den. If he can take another good fight against the Hydras, get a great big storm, and thin out that number, then these carriers can just do the rest.
Yeah, well, we still have double Spire as well. Don't forget about that.
True. We haven't seen any Corruptors just yet from DRG. He's got the 1-1 upgrades. I'm sure he'd rather 3-3 Hydras, but, you know, it's whatever you got here. So you got to make something happen.
I just don't know how you fight this many carriers, right? It's 12 carriers, 40 Hydras. Sounds awesome, but we still have a couple of storms as well. I think maybe if DongRaeGu is able to take out the Templar Archives as he runs into the natural as well. There go those spies, by the way. So at this point, the NTR that DongRaeGu has is pretty much the only NTR. He made 6 more Vipers before the Hive went down. That's actually kind of cool. I mean, Parasitic Bomb can kill interceptors.
Oh, these Hydras are all DRG is likely to have in this game. He's also lost the Hive, so his tech path has been reset. Revelation there from the Oracle. Just keep an eye on those Hydras as they move back. And with these Templar, both these High Templar got tons of energy as well. So if DRG does turn and commits to a fight, he's going to get a lot of bad weather right on top of those Hydras, and they are going to disappear quite fast.
Oh my. 2 Phoenixes just find the Vipers randomly, and they're going to start chipping away
Middle
these
of the map,
Vipers.
middle of the map.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that's the fight that DongRaeGu can never win. That's way too many carriers. Another time warp lands on the last few Hydras. Those Spore Crawlers are not going to save the day. GG gets called. And we are heading into a deciders game.
Hell yeah, we are. And what better way to make the series happen? If this series was a 2-0, I would have been disappointed, Roddy. I'm very, very happy that we're going to be seeing a third game here. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, that third game that I mentioned, guys, don't go away. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back. We're on the last map of the last series for Group B, so we are nearly done here for the stream. DreamHack Masters Fall Season Finals. Roddy, let's come to this. One more map. This one is so hard to predict. We're going to Eternal Empire. We're back where it started.
Indeed. Yeah, that's actually where it did all start a long time ago. It's been a fun series, man. These two players just seem incredibly even matched, right? And they both win games where we kind of feel a bit iffy about their positions, and that just really goes to show. I think this is anyone's game up to this point. First series went 2-1. Now we're all tied up again. Deciders match. But there is no more room for errors. This is it. The winner will move on into the playoffs of the season championships, and the loser will be eliminated off the tournament. In the bottom left side, look in the main base of the Korean Protoss player, the Shield of Fire. It is Stats.
A little more of a southern taste there to that riff. And at the top right here from the Afrika Freaks, It is the Zerg player, DRG.
Yeah, it looks like you still have some instruments behind you, right, Manny?
Me, yeah. It's my old leftover gear from a long ended life of being a musician.
Do you still play every now and then?
I do, yeah. I've actually tried to get like the guitars as part of a streaming setup, but I can't get rid of this delay that keeps happening. You know how sometimes you can, when you hear your voice in your ear, but it comes like a few milliseconds later, so it doesn't sync up and it messes up what you're trying to say because you're hearing things in your ear that isn't the right time. I have that with my guitar and streaming setup, so I haven't figured it out yet.
I see. I'd love to see you play. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Maybe one day we can convince you to give us a little offline performance.
Absolutely, I'll sing you a song.
Awesome. Alrighty. Eternal Empire. You think we're gonna see the Stargate 9 out of 9 times?
Hell yeah, we are. I can't wait for it. It's not the question of if Stargate, it's the question of Stargate and what for me for stats.
What kind of Stargate, right? I mean, the previous game, that was the first time that he really displayed us the double Stargate Phoenix opening. At first, I was a bit worried. I was like, I feel like you kind of need to get more. But that's when he dove in. Whoa, what's DongRaeGu?
Hello.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, this would
really
really mess me up.
These drones there.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be so pissed. My entire build order would be in shambles.
Game 3 of deciding whether you move on into the biggest tournament of the season or not. And he does, you got GSL as well, of course. You got your DreamHack season finals. A lot of money on the line here. A lot of prestige.
Yep. What I do think is very cool, actually, is that finishing third in the group is not the same as finishing fourth. So that match always matters. There is actually a $500 price difference between what Nice got and the loser of this series. So honestly, I love all these little details that ESL has thought about with their pro circuit. And even in the qualifiers, man, even if you don't qualify for these big events within your region, you can still win some prize money. And I absolutely love that, because I think that's really a big motivational step, right, for a lot of players. The first time they make money out of playing their favorite video game, that's almost like receiving your first kiss.
That's right. It's one of those things, like if there's more, I guess, kind of like a breadcrumb trail, or like a kind of like a lot of treats to reward you on your path to the higher ends of tournaments. It's so much more motivating to keep playing in those kind of tournaments and to try really hard to do well in those particular tournaments.
I gotta say, that was a bit ambitious by DongRaeGu. He just lost a creep tumor, and he's like, you know what? Those two adepts didn't change my main base. Well, I'm gonna poop out another tumor immediately right in front of them. It's like that change that obviously went through a couple months ago now. That's massive for adepts. Adepts deal way more damage to creep tumors than they used to do, and getting 2 creep tumors this early on, there's actually a good chance that is really going to slow the Zerg down for quite some time.
True that. Slowing down the creep a little bit. I do like that light armor tag change to the creep tumor. The adepts, I like this play of just having those 2 adepts on like the very, very north side of the map and just using the shades to go into the third. It keeps makes the Zerg have to pay attention to the minimap a lot more closer. And usually marrying it up with the Oracle, you are kind of guaranteed damage. It's just the question is how much are you going to do?
Really quick pull there by DongRaeGu, but it was a bit funny to see that he had like 7 Zerglings at the Zelnaga Watchtower. Well, you'd normally say that 1 Zergling could achieve the exact same thing. Oracles try to get lucky here in the natural. I don't think they're going to get this queen, even though it's starting to take some serious damage.
Yeah, Oracle got a little bit too close to the sun there, but luckily it didn't get burned too badly.
+1 melee, by the way.
+1 melee? Oh.
Yeah, is that the first time we see this as an opener?
I think so. Yeah, no, absolutely, because we've been seeing a lot of +1 range because people keep going into Roach and eventually Hydra Local, right?
Yep, so this could also be the very first time we see Banelings today.
That's so weird to see so many ZVPs and not a single Baneling nest.
I know. I can't believe we have almost casted an entire group of StarCraft 2, and we haven't seen a Baneling nest until now, unless we forgot one.
Oh my god.
There was one that didn't have a big impact.
No, there wasn't. Surely not.
Okay, not a single Baneling nest all day, but hey, here we are, Maynard, in our 5th best of 3 of the day, our last game of that best of 3. There's a Baneling nest.
Variety, baby. It's a lot of lings here from DRG, and these adepts seem to be shading back for safety for anything else. The third base is definitely a priority here for Stats. He needs to get that third up and running so that he can afford all these things that he's trying to make happen right now. He's getting a loan out for a Templar Archives, charge and +1, and he needs to make sure that he can pay the bank.
You know, it's really funny, right? Because I feel like the Baneling is such a versatile unit that it's like, what exactly is the best case scenario? Like, in a way, you can say, like, he's going Zealots, and Banelings are very good against Zealots. As one of the Oracles does get picked up in the main. Well done there by DongRaeGu. On the other end, you can also say, like, well, if there's Archons out and there's Storm, then all of a sudden Banelings are going to have a tough time. I think Banelings can be very good against double Stargate builds as well, because often there is a lot more emphasis on Sky than there is on ground. And if Banelings can then just ignore the Sky Toss units and roll into mineral lines, they can be very successful as well. So I'm not even exactly sure what the best scenario is for DongRaeGu, but the good news is that there should always be a purpose for the Baneling.
Well, the Baneling will have purpose as charge lots arrive, but they need to be ready, and they need to be set up, and they need to have Baneling speed. As it is on the way here, about a third of the way done for DRG. A lot of Lings are on the way. It's actually taking the fifth as well as the fourth at the same time.
This is actually scary, isn't it? I mean, Zerglings are good enough, but now there are 2 Archons in the mix as well, and a Warp Prism. We don't have Baneling speed yet. We don't have +2 yet. I'm actually a bit worried here for DongRaeGu. He's going to try to force out a defensive warp in, but Stats is not really falling for that. Now, if these Lings get into the main, that is a bit annoying. But does DongRaeGu have enough units to deal with the Protoss army that's knocking on his front door?
And that Archon problem is about to become twice as bad as 2 more are on the way. Force fields from Stats actually quite lovely here, and the Zealots actually creating a choke point against those Banelings. The charge lots are decimating the Lings on the right side. Oh no, DRG! He's in so much trouble here. Stats' army is way too strong.
Yep, and Archons are just so damn good against both Zerglings and Banelings. At least the Warp Prism went down. That could maybe help him a little bit, but no, DongRaeGu way too greedy. 75 drones, double evo, and Stats was having